friends, I would like to greet you all wholeheartedly and with respect. With the unique hospitality of Indonesia at the 17th G20 summit, we have completed our program. And I would like to congratulate Indonesia, which assumed the term presidency. I would like to thank to them and to the President Widodo primarily, and all who contributed for having hosted us warmly, and my delegation, my wife. After the terror attack that took place in Istanbul on Istiklal Street on Monday, there have been many friends who directly shared or indirectly shared their messages and calls, and I would like to thank to them. This heinous attack, where six citizens, two of whom were children, lost their lives, showed the ugly face of terror again. Under the excuse title of Daesh, all those who were included is a culprit to every drop of blood shed. And the separatist terror groups try to hide their despicable acts through such acts. No matter what they do or behind whom they hide, terrorists will not be able to avoid the bitter fate awaiting them. And our law enforcement department has in a very short period of time, caught the responsible people for the terror attack, including the bomber herself. And I would like to underline one more time that there is no place for terror. And we will resolutely continue practicing our counterterrorism acts in their route. And I would like to state that we expect the sincere contribution of all in our efforts. One more time, I pray for the souls of all those citizens who lost their lives in the terror attack, and convey my condolences to their families and wish for a quick recovery to all the injured. Distinguished friends, the theme of G20 this year was Recover Together and Recover Stronger. Within this framework, throughout the year at the ministerial level, meetings and many technical works have been conducted. As Turkey, we have participated to these actions actively and shared our opinions and contributed to the agenda of the summit. In the scope of the summit, we have evaluated the most recent developments about the global and regional matters. Over the past 3 years, the world has witnessed many challenging processes which started with the pandemic and went on with the wars and conflicts. Strict measures taken during the phase of the pandemic had certain negative repercussions on the global supply chains and energy prices. Increase a surge in energy prices and food prices have challenged all economies with no distinction, including Europe and the USA. Inflation rates have reached their top points over the 60 years, past 60 years, and this shows how stringent the process has been. No matter how developed they are, nobody could exclude themselves of this vicious process. And the formula to decrease inflation rates through conventional measures have not brought about positive consequences, as we all observed, and some economies even have started facing loss in employment. The ever-increasing number of discussions about global recession also indicate the danger that awaits us in the near future. The reports of international institutions and economic indicators show that if there is no way out found, then the current situation will even worsen more. And of course, this crisis does not only affect certain regions, but from west to the east, from the south to the north, this is a crisis of all countries and globe. However, the areas where the global crises hit the most are the vulnerable states in Africa and Asia. During the pandemic, the inhumanitarian images that appeared in the field of health and now are repeated in the field of energy and food. From Somalia to Yemen all the way to Afghanistan, in a very large geography, millions of people now are faced with the threat of hunger and scarcity. Likewise, economic crisis, especially in Western countries, has also increased the number of hatred discourses against Muslims. As a country, the 7 million citizens of which live abroad, we very well know the scaring dimensions of sayings or discourses of hatred. In terms of fight against xenophobia and Islamophobia, we believe more sensitivity should be shown. In the face of these tests that affect the welfare and peace of the whole humanity, Turkey is aware of all actions to be delivered. Totally 161 countries and 12 international organizations have been assisted with medical supplies by Turkey, and just like we have done that in the face of the pandemic, today, with all our power to build a peace, prosperity, and justice, we are sincerely exerting efforts. In rate 2, its national income, we are the country that provides the highest amount of humanitarian assistance. Around 5 million displaced people have been hosted by our country for many years, and our aid institutions and organizations rush to the help of everyone wherever there is a need. To end the conflicts and stop the bloodshed, we are the country that works the most. From the first day of the dispute in Ukraine on, we have said that there's no fair winner for a war and a loser in it. Likewise, and in this process, we have made many entrepreneurial took many entrepreneurial actions to facilitate and mediate the process, and we have shown the success to bring the parties together around the same table. Together with Russia, Ukraine, and the UN, we built the grain corridor in the Black Sea. This way, we have significantly contributed to the solution of the food crisis. So far, about 11 million tons of grains have been ensured for their supply to the world market. To ensure the contract, the agreement is in place uninterruptedly, and the grain is delivered to the countries, especially those in need the most, starting with Africa. We continue with our efforts. In 2015, during our term presidency of G20, we assumed we addressed food security as one of the main areas of priority. And in our joint declaration, we made commitments. However, over the world, 1 million tons of almost food material is going to waste. On one hand, we talk about digitalization and artificial intelligence. However, on the other, we are faced with the truth that many live in hunger, around 2 million. While 1 million people go to bed hungry at night, and on the other hand, if there's luxury and extravaganza dominating, then there is a problem. Ambition, domination, or winning more are the pillars on which the current economic architecture has been constructed, and it is not possible for it to protect the nature and the humanity. As Turkey, to change this unfair image and to prevent food waste, we are continuing with our efforts. Besides, with the leadership of my wife, First Lady Emine Erdoğan, we have brought the Zero Waste project to the international arena. This important project, along with preventing environmental pollution, will also reduce global waste, we believe. Another important item in our agenda of the summit was health. And in this scope, for the improvement of the global health systems, we have exchanged opinions, starting with Africa. In the face of the pandemic, Turkey has shown an international solidarity example, and we one more time shared it with our interlocutors. In the healthcare infrastructure of Turkey, the mileage Turkey has covered over the past 2 decades, and also the ways of solutions in the face of the problems, were what we shared with as an opportunity in the summit. And we believe that we truly made a great success history in the face of the pandemic. The total number of our bed capacity has exceeded 260,000, and with more than 1.35 million healthcare professionals, we have a say. And with our locally developed Turcovac vaccine, we have made it among the 9 countries in the world that is able to produce their own vaccines. 89 jabs of all vaccines out of 100 are provided through local supplies, and our city hospitals started a new era in the field of health in our country. In particular, during the critical days of the pandemic, these modern facilities that are giant state-of-art structures have benefited us the most. And now with every move in terms of international healthcare services, we're willing to make Turkey an international brand. The infrastructure and also the highly qualified human resources, the power of science and technology are what we will be improving continuously. And in a digital transformation theme of the summit, we have evaluated the threats and opportunities for digital transformation throughout the 2-day summit. We also had many bilateral talks, and on this occasion, I would like to state that the President of Indonesia, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mr. Salman, the President of the U.S., Mr. Biden, the President of France, Mr. Macron, Italy President, Ms. Giorgia Meloni, German Chancellor, Mr. Olaf Scholz, were with whom I met on the margins of the summit. And also on the occasion of this summit, and within the framework of our MICTA term presidency, we had a family photo as leaders and also shared our joint statement. Global health, food security, and effective migration management have been what we underlined. The G20 platform is an area where we, in the face of the challenges of the global risks, uh, we can say that it is running all activities with success. And we, this way again, with the resolute, effective, and solution-oriented understanding of G20, will overcome many more problems. And in this, the talks, the negotiations we have throughout the past 2 days, and also the commitments we have put forward will be hopefully auspicious for the global stability and peace. I would like to thank to Indonesian term presidency one more time for their term, and I would like to wish all the best and success to the next presiding country, India. And I would like to greet each and every one of you with love and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am a Kurdish journalist based in Washington, D.C., and my question is about the meeting that you had with President Biden. Was the F-16 program, did that come up? What is the latest that you can tell us on the F-16? And do you think a Republican Congress will help in terms of the Turkish ambitions in the F-16 program? And then one more question. There are many that believe Turkey is practicing a very aggressive policy in Aegean, in Syria, in Iraqi Kurdistan, where civilians have been killed because of Turkish bombing. Is there any time we see a shift in that policy, especially after the election, perhaps? Thank you.
Firstly, about F-16s. Mr. Biden said that there are positive developments. With the Republicans in New York, I had some talks before, and I have heard from them in particular that the Republicans also have a positive approach. You said that you live in the U.S., but I don't believe in that because you are engaged in a different sort of racism, because the question you ask is showing that, because in the south of Syria or North Iraq, we do not have any issues about the Kurdish people there, just like we don't have any issue, any problem with the Kurdish people in our country. Thank you. Mr. President, after the terror attack in Istanbul, will the cross-border agenda be addressed? There are talks, there are investigations, inspections ongoing. As you know, that the number of the injured was 81, and that figure went down to 25. Others were discharged, and we lost 6 people. And as a result of all these investigations, it will be seen to where this reaches out, and after all the investigation, the whole world should know that we are determined to do whatever necessary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Melinda Nusafora from TRT World. Have you had any discussions with your Russian counterparts with regards to the extension of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, which expires on Saturday the 19th? And if you do believe it is going to be renewed, can we expect to see the deal expanded?
Of course, our talks continue all the time, and I am in the opinion that it will continue. As of this moment, there's no problem there. And once we go back, We will continue with our talks, starting with Mr. Putin, because the way to peace is through dialogue, and we, in particular, are determined about that, as we said many times before, and we continue saying that. For this process to continue well for the whole world, it is the case. And in the previous talks I had with Mr. Putin, I saw the lights of that. Betül Usta from Sabah newspaper. Mr. President, in the previous days, with your participation in Uzbekistan, a summit took place, the Turkic States Summit. An important decision was approved, and TRNC was admitted to the organization as an observer member, and Greece directly went to Brussels, and there was a decision of condemnation from the EU and from the foreign ministry of the EU. They made a statement came, and they said that they were upset because of the decision. In your talks, has this subject been raised, and how would you comment on that, Mr. President? And secondly, with the President of Emmanuel Macron and also with the President of Italy, you had talks. You had a Samdi project that Turkey is willing to continue with Italy and France. Was the subject raised, and do you have a concrete expectation about that, Mr. President? Thank you. Thank you very much. About TRNC. In the Turkic States Organization, the decision we made is in place, is in effect, and from any country or from anywhere, there is no need for us to get a permission or whatsoever. This is done now, and the next processes to come, those countries who have a negative approach will be necessarily responded. And as regards the Samdi issue, as of this moment, there are some technical obstacles, and by way of overcoming these technical obstacles with Mr. Macron and Ms. Meloni, the talks we shall have will help us overcome these technical matters, I believe. Elif Saçoğlu from A News. Mr. President, F-16 talks with the U.S. You said that it was positive. And also, the U.S. has some cuts sanctions on the Turkish industry. Such sanctions, are they obstacles? And have you addressed to that for possible lifting of those with Mr. Biden? The talks are positive. There is no need to go into details now. And in our talks with Mr. Biden, I felt the positive atmosphere.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jonas from Russian TASS news agency. What's the current Turkey stand on the incident on Poland-Ukrainian border, and have you chance to discuss this matter with NATO allies? Thank you.
Bu konuyla ilgili olarak ben Rusya'nın
As regards this matter,
saygı duymak durumundayım.
I am in a place to respect the statement that Russia has made. It is important for us that Russia has stated that they had no relevance. Along with all that, in the morning in Olaf Scholz, with Olaf Scholz, we addressed that there's a need for some detailed study, and a definite decision cannot be rightly made. And Biden also stated that these missiles were not Russian-made, and I believe this shows that it was not maybe related with Russia. Maybe there could be a technical failure or maybe some other issue. Therefore, an audit and inspection is
Şöyle biraz da
compulsory.
arka tarafa gidelim.
Now maybe we can go back towards the end in the rows.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Efendim, evvela hoş geldin.
Ses gelmiyor.
I'm from Indonesia, Tv1 Indonesia.
Yes.
First of all, my condolence for the bomb incident that occurred in Istanbul, Efendim. How is the condition of your country now after that incident? And talking about cooperation between Turkey and Indonesia, how does Indonesian government help Turkey in recovering after the bomb incident in Istanbul? Thank you. Teşekkür ederim.
Şu an itibariyle aldığımız
As of
taziyeler
this moment,
Endonezya tarafından
all the
kendisini zaten
wishes of condolences
gerçekten takdir
delivered by Indonesia
bir duyarlılıktır.
have been truly satisfying. This is sensitivity, and we would like to thank for your sensitivity. But everyone should know one thing. This incident that took place on Istiklal Street, following it in Istanbul, in our country, it has gone back to normal, the situation, and we are already a country that has been fighting terrorism for 40 years and have succeeded in our fight against terror. And in this regard, we will continue with our fight against terror, and my people
Şu anda aynen
will my people have shown their patience, and they will, and we pray for the souls of all 6 citizens who lost their lives and a quick recovery from God to all injured. And I would like to thank to you for your sensitivity as an Indonesian. Thank you.
evet mikrofon.
Yes, microphone, please.
Hello, Mr. President. Thank you so much. Marie Finoshna, RT International. My question is also about a deadly missile incident in Poland. You just said that investigation needed, but before any probe, we heard that some NATO countries were very quick to point their fingers at Russia. While it is clear that such statements will definitely lead to escalation in the region, why they're doing that? Understanding that it pushing the world to the World War III terms. Thank you so much. Teşekkür ederim.
Az önce de ifade ettiğim gibi
As I said before,
Olaf Schulz'da yaptığım
with Olaf Scholz in the talk we had in the morning, as 6 NATO countries, he said that they're in contact, and as a result of these talks, starting with the US,
Rus yapımı olmadığı
it has been stated that this missile was not Russian-made. I believe this shows a path, and I hope that here, insisting on that it is Russian-made, will provoke the situation, and
etrafında
before long we are exerting efforts to bring Ukraine and Russia around the same table. And when we are engaged in such actions using the method of provocation, should not be right. And as I said before, the way to peace is through dialogue, and by way of building dialogue, we should be building peace in the world. And with such efforts, the moment we go back home, we will continue further improving our phone diplomacy with Mr. Putin. I believe you have no intention to end this.
Thank you, Mr. President. Journalist from Phoenix TV, and are you going to have a meeting with China this time? And how would you describe the relationship between Turkey and China? And it is reported that Russia and the United States met in Turkey. Is it confirmed, and how would you describe this meeting? Thank you.
Sayın Putin'le yaptığımız görüşmelerimiz
The talks we had with Mr. Putin
iki ülke arasında
so far
insani, vicdani bütün bu hassasiyetlere dikkat ederek görüşmelerimizi devam
have
ediyoruz.
continued
Rusya
showing
Türkiye arasındaki
sensitivity to our political and humanitarian relations. The relations in terms of political, economic, and defense industry, we have a strong infrastructure in between our countries, and we have continued with that so far, and we will. We're neighborly countries, and we will be preserving our acts of neighborly relations. As I said before, the way to peace is through dialogue.
Rusya ile Ukrayna
And on one hand, we are
toplamaya, oraya gelmelerini sağlamaya gayret ederken
trying to bring Russia and Ukraine around at the same negotiation table. And also, there is at this moment no need to find a third partner to it. And there is an agreement called Istanbul Contract, Istanbul Memorandum, and in Ankara, bringing the foreign ministers of both countries together, we had already taken a step for peace. We will continue with this process because you cannot gain anything from wars. Everything is in peace. Mustafa Yildirim is my name from TRT News. Mr. President, my question is about Greece. In the Eastern Mediterranean and about islands, Greece makes statements that escalate tension, and you also made some statements before. And on the other hand, the military stationing and also the increasing number of the military bases of Greece. And we can see, I would like to say in quotations, the support that Greece gets from the U.S. Did you have any talks about that with Mr. Biden yesterday? Thank you very much. Such approaches or stance by Greece or whatsoever,
her zaman söylediğim bir gece ansızın
as I always say, we might
kelamı
come
asla geriye
all of a sudden
dönmez.
one night.
O benim için bir kelam
And
vardır.
this is
Dolayısıyla bir gece ansızın
indeed
gidebiliriz.
what I said, and this is a word of truth, and it would not
Bu tür açıklamaları, bu tür konuşmaları
get me reverse it. And we see that Greece is making such statements. They do not know how to stop, and they do not know their place. And at this point, we say, oh, my neighbor, know the law, if you will, of a neighborhood, and should not meddle with us. And pay attention to where you are and where Turkey is. No matter how you fill up those islands, none of them will bring about any benefit for you, because here there is a Turkey. That's why you should know your place. And if they read their history, look into their history, they will be seeing the reality very well. Aircrafts or weapons abroad, it will do of no good. This is not a matter of power, but a matter of courage, hearts, if you will.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Beatriz. I'm with the Spanish news YDF. You mentioned before that what happened in Poland was maybe a technical mistake. What is your evaluation of what happened there? What information can you share with us? Thank you.
Tabii bu konularda ben bir teknisyen değilim.
Of course, I'm not a technician
Bu sabah
of these
Olaf
issues.
Scholz'la yaptığım
Only this morning with Mr. Olaf Scholz, during our talks,
bu olmasını ben de sizlerle paylaştım.
I shared with you the information shared with
Hata
them.
olmuş olabilir gibi bir yaklaşımın olduğunu
And I
bize söylediler.
was said that there could be an approach like there is. There might be a technical issue, and the investigation to be made, all the inspections on the missiles will show the results. But they said that this was not a Russian product, and maybe it's for the best to move along with this. Samet Tuna from TRT Arabi. Mr. President, one of the articles of the International Grain Deal was this export of Russian fertilizers without restrictions. Was this raised in your talks? And also, you said that the EU needs to take more initiative, and you had that a talk with Mr. Macron. And what is more initiative? About what? As regards the grain deal.
Şimdi tabii burada özellikle tahılın gönderilmesiyle ilgili rakamı söyledim.
I shared a figure about the grain sent. The figure went beyond 10 million. Fertilizers, of course, will be important. This goes the same for ammoniac, and the work is ongoing. And at the moment we go back for the shipping or transportation of fertilizers and ammoniac, we will have talks with Mr. Putin, and at least we are exerting efforts to at least bring this period to 1 year. And this is what the Istanbul deal requires, and we will ensure that this is what I believe.
Konstantin Simon from France 24. This morning there was a meeting at Mr. Biden hotel with a lot of NATO countries. Why were you not there as a Turkey is a NATO country? And do we have to see any divide in the answer NATO countries and especially Turkey have on this case of the missile and generally on the Russia and Ukraine war? Is there any divide between the countries of NATO?
Konstantin 6 ülke bir araya gelmiş.
Konstantin, 6 countries came together.
Diğer 20 ülkeyi niye sormuyorsun?
What about the other 20 countries? Why are you not asking about that? Maybe they did not have the chance to call us at that moment, and that is not very important. What's discussed is about the brand of this missile. And Mr. Biden, by way of saying that this was not Russian-made, gave the answer. It's not very important. They're inviting us to important things, and there's no need for us to attend to unimportant issues.
Kalın
All
sağlıcakla.
right, thank you very much. Stay in health.